Now that we have intuitive understanding of the main components of the golden search algorithm, let's concretize this and convert this into the overall algorithm. So in this part, we will focus on the actual algorithm that is used in the golden section search method. Okay. So what we do is, first of all, we initialize, okay, and the initialization is, from the bounds A and B. We, in the first iteration, or maybe even before doing the first iterative process, what we do is, remember, we have, bounds A and B, right? These are, let's say, if we draw this axis, then this is fx, right, and this is x, right? We typically start with some bounding A and B, and within this A and B, right, we generate 2 points x1 and x2. So how does this 2 points x1 and x2 is generated is essentially described by this initialization step, which how we start with, and that's what we are describing now here. Okay. So the x1 will be initialized using the equation that is given here. So we know the x lower and x upper, which in our cases, and so this is also A and the x upper is also B, right? We know this value. We know that tau is essentially a golden section ratio, which is 0.618. So we will be using that value. And since we know the x lower and x upper, and we know the value of tau, from there we can compute x1. Similarly, we have this equation for x2, and using this equation, which is different equation than what we have for x1, we should be able to compute the value of x2. And this is how, essentially, from in the first iteration, given the bounds of A and B, we generate 2 points x1 and x2 in the overall this bound A and B for the golden section algorithm to work. Okay. So now what you see on the right hand side is essentially the equation that is used to initialize and get the values of x1 and x2 from a starting point. Then what we do is we use a switching condition, and we find out whether the function value of 1 is greater than equal to 2 or not. And when we are writing f1, this is essentially equal to fx1, and when we are writing f2, this is essentially equal to fx2. So this is what I have described in the previous slide, and this case describes the first case that I have given you in a couple of slides prior to this. So if that is the case, we know that we need to eliminate the left portion, and then we need to make the current x1 equal to A, and then we need to find out a new value of x2. So those are the equations that we will write here. So that's what I'm doing. We know that x1 is equal to A, right, or is equal to lower x lower. This is what we've done. We make the x1, and at this point of time we have also evaluated the function value because we know those function values, and then we make the x1 that is currently there equal to x2. Okay, and then we generate a new value for x2, and this is the equation that you use for generating the new value of x2 in this scenario. And so this is the equation that I did not write in the previous description slide that we had, but what you need to do, remember that after constraining or after making the intervals shorter, you have only one point in that interval that is known, right? You basically allocate that to x1, become x1 in this case, but you need to sample a new point x2 in the case 1, and this is the equation that you will use to generate the next point x2 in that iteration. Okay. Now similarly, what you have, if this is not the case, then obviously you will have the other case where the f2 value is greater than the f1 value. So if that is the case, then your algorithm will do different steps. So let's look into what are those different steps that will be done in case 2, or if this condition is not satisfied, automatically you will default into case 2, and you will basically fall other case, right? So in other case, what you do is you start shrinking on the right hand side. So you constrain the space on the right hand side and you try to move on leftward, and your interval becomes reduced on the left hand side, right? And in that case, the x2 becomes x upper, or x2 becomes equal to B. We essentially sample that value, we make the x2 equal to x1, and we create a new point, sample a new point, and we generate a new value for x1. And this equation gives essentially the equation that could be used to generate the x1 value, right? So right here is the equation that I did not give in this slide prior, couple of slides prior to this, but this is the equation that you will use to generate a new sample in case of a second scenario, which is the scenario where your f2 is greater than f1. Remember, this is the case 2 that I described it. And once you generate this, now you have, basically reduced the space, and within that space you have two values, x1 and x2, and what you do is you compare what is the case, whether f1 is greater than f2 or f2 is greater than f1, and you proceed accordingly, iteratively, right? So that is essentially what will be needed in the overall algorithm for you to solve this problem. Now, as you can see, this equation looks a little bit, jumbled up, but let's take an example problem and go through each of the steps of this algorithm so that we can understand what is happening. So far what we have done, we have some intuitive understanding of what we need to be doing. We have laid out an algorithm. Let's now concretize all of this understanding in the context of a very specific problem.